In my last video I showed you how to make an EASEL card. In this video I'm actually going to be showing you how I made this card from start to finish. What I'll be doing is taking you through the processes I use and showing you basically from start to finish how I put it together. And so where you're at this stage should be like that before you add all the layers and the butterflies and the dragonflies and the flowers. Okay, so to start off, what I do is I've used EASEL buff cardstock, and what I've done is I've cut it 9.5 across and 10.5 down, and then what I've done is I've distressed the edges already, and I've used my Heidi Swap, but you can use any distresser that you already have. Then for the paper, what I've used is Nature's Garden Primer, and I've cut this 9 across and 10 down. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them aside for a second, and I'm going to start on my doily part, which is this bit here. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually using tea dye and from Tim Holtz, and what I'm doing is I've got my doily, which is 4.5, and what I basically do is just get my ink and start rubbing into my doily, and I do this until I think I've got enough on it. I love distressing things, and I love Tim Holtz inks. Okay, and you just keep doing that until you think you've got an even colour. Me, myself, I like them pretty dark. And it does take a little while to do, but I like to do it. Then what I'll do is I'll start putting all my layers together, and I'll have everything ready. With this, you pretty much only need to do the edges. You don't really need to do the middle part. Okay, nearly finished. How pretty is that Prima paper? We don't get much Prima here. You only can source some of the papers every now and then. Like the romance novel, I actually got some of it, but apparently most of it's discontinued because it's sold so well in America. So, okay. So now what I do is I grab all my stuff. Okay, my card. Then what I start to do is put my layers together. Okay, so we've got our cardstock. So you just Now I just stick it down to my doily. And then I tape down my doily. Just make sure you don't get tape on the bits that you can see, because you don't want to be seeing it through your doily. Then what I do is I stick it down to my cardstock. Basically try to get that in the middle of your cardstock. Okay, that's the middle there. And that's what I've got already. Okay, so now what I do is I stick these layers down to my card. So now what we do is we get that, just tuck that bit of tape behind, then what you do is get that in the middle again, and then what I do is just stick it down. Okay, so I'm up to that so far, as you can see. Okay, now we pretty much just add the little bit of finished touches. So what we do now is we actually add the flowers and some of the details. Okay. Switch my boards again. I like to use 2 different boards for when I'm distressing. I just find it's easier, and that one's more slipperier. So basically the flourish that I've used on this is this one, and it's actually by Dynamics, and it's called the Leafy Flourish. Okay, and then what I'm actually using is Ruby Flowers by Craft and Terracotta Flowers by Craft. Then what I've actually got also is the dragonflies that I'm using, and they actually are Sizzix, and it's Dragonfly 3. Okay, so what we're going to do is, in the corners from a local scrapbook store, but what I've actually done is use some Perfect Pearls and mixed it in with some brown embossing powder, and I've heat set it, so it pretty much turns out like that. Okay, so now I just start getting cracking and start adding all my details. For my flourish, I like to use a zig, 2-way zig, or a quickie glue. It's just easier to get all those little branches. But it does take a little while to colour in all those branches. Okay, now that that's all done, I just stick it down make sure I do it up a little bit higher. And it really doesn't matter if it hangs over the card. I think that gives it an extra look people seem to like. And I really like it too. Just gives it a point of difference. Okay, next what I do is I add my EASEL flour. And what I'm using is 450 glue. But it tends to clog up, that's the only thing with it. But it's absolutely great glue and I find everything stays really well. Okay. So sorry. Okay, now I've got my glue and I just glue my flour. Just be careful with scraggly bits and stick it down. Okay. And just find the position you like it most. And I like to sort of push out the petals a bit. Okay. So you're basically up to that. Then what I like to do is with my flowers, I grab the petals and you just fix up the stems. And then what I like to do is I actually grab my paper piercer. What I do is I wrap it around the paper piercer. This just twirls the ends, and I actually like the little ends poking out, as you can see. And you'll find in a lot of my cards I use this technique. And again, I just fix the petals up a bit because they get a bit squashed in the packet. Okay, so just glue. Okay. So just add the flour. Again, these are EASEL, and they are the ruby. And they're a really lovely colour. Okay, just adjust your flowers, get them all sticking. Okay, just add the other one. Sorry, my glue is towards the end and it gets hard to get out. Okay, before I stick that one down, I actually get the bud and I'll cut a little bit of the stem. This is just from I Am Roses actually. And I just stick that under the ruby rose that I've put up the top. And as you can see, okay, now I'm going to put the other corner on the other side. And I like to glue these up as well. I just think they stay a lot better. And I'll stick that down. Really happy how that corner turned out. Like I said, I just used a little bit of Perfect Pearls and added it with brown. It just gives it that metal look. Okay, for the next part what I did was I get the dragonflies and I like to actually stamp them. And what I'm using is the script stamp, again by EASEL CARD. And what I'm actually using is Stazon Timber Brown. And I like to put there. And I'm actually going to punch out on, again, the buff. I've got a Fishka's Dragonfly punch. I'm actually going to punch that at the same time. And I just do 2 of them. And that's actually for the bottom bit, so we don't have to get all the ink and everything out again. Okay. And just ink that up. Stamp. And then they're ready when you get to the bottom part of your card. Okay, so as you can see, a little bit of text writing on the dragonflies now. I'll just flip the board. Okay, now what I do is I actually get my Quickly Glue again, and I just stick the two dragonflies together. This just gives it, gives the wings an extra lift, and I think it just gives it something extra. I like to bend the wings up on the second one. And now what I do is I just stick straight down. And just add it, start doing glue to the back. And just add it to my card. So then it looks like that. Okay, now we're going to start the inside, and what I do is I again cut my cardstock in buff, and what I do is it's 10.5 across and 10.5 down. Also, I've cut in the same paper but the reverse side a strip, and it is 10 centimeters across and 4 centimeters down. What I'm doing first is I've got to distress the cardstock of the inside part. This is the Heidi Swap distresser, and I find it a lot better than some of the other distressers that I've bought in the past, because some of them can actually make your work look a bit chewed, and I don't like that look. Like I said, in Australia Prima is a little bit hard to source, so until I can get the distressing tool from them, I just use this one. Not that I don't love Prima. Okay, that's distressed, and I just quickly distress this on the top. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is take my Martha Stewart Doily punch. What I'm going to do is with the grey, again, Prima, and it's the Nature's Garden collection. Has a lot of fairies. This is the only sheet I got in the collection, unfortunately, but I like using it. Okay, what you do next is just punch. Like to look at the bottom and look for the end, and make sure I'm getting it in. Okay, then I start punching. Okay. scissors and quickly neaten up those bits that it's... Okay, next what I do is I actually just going to stick it down. Okay. Okay, just add it to my cardstock. Actually, I'm going to check first because it needs to actually keep the card opened. So I'll just measure it. It should be that way. Now I'll stick that down. Okay, so the inside, I've just done a strip and cardstock distressed and punched with the Martha Stewart Doily punch. Just get rid of those bits from the distresser and just put that in the middle again. Okay, just make sure it's perfect. Okay. Now what I do is grab my dragonflies, okay, and just do the same thing as we've already done. Okay, then I flap the wings over again so it's ready. Should just go over the top. Okay, he's all stuck down. Stuck down. He just goes right under the flowers. And you just flap his wings up. Okay, last of all, what we do is we add chino pearls from Hazelcraft again. So what I actually do is, I'm just going to flatten that for a sec, and just use the big one. Okay, the big. Okay, medium. No, it's not medium. Okay, one big. Next size. And then the next size. Okay, then for the bottom half, we need the littler size. We'll use the big one, sorry. Tell a fib. And the next two sizes. Okay, and then there's your card, all done. Okay, so that's my card for today. And what I was going to share also, for one lucky person who leaves a comment, I was actually going to give. That's the card for today. I just wanted to share also that if you leave a comment below, I've decided that I'm going to be picking a comment and they'll win this card. So make sure you leave a comment below and subscribe. And also, if you want to check more of my work, go on to my Facebook page, which is Just Cards by Sarah. Thank you very much for watching and hope to see you soon. Bye.